You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Süper var. Süper'e doğru at. Süper gitti. Süper topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 156 of Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan live from New York City again. Back with you folks. Recharged. Sorry for the little break. I'm coming a little early with this episode. Usually we drop on Mondays. Some of our loyal listeners will recall. But coming in a little early because we have a lot of midweek action next week. We're coming in heavy with the episodes in the coming weeks, with us returning to multi-match weeks, if you will. So yeah, just a little break, but we're back with the energy required. I'm alone, of course. Our boy, the Akman, Evran, is in Turkey, still pursuing the dream. That would not, however, prevent our boy, the Akman, from giving us a little bit of a stat flash this week. So shouts to Akman, shouts to Evran. As always, for the stat flash, much better than I provide. So, yeah, big ups. We look forward to that, of course. But meanwhile, we've got, of course, a pretty big match to talk about. Before we talk about this match, I've recently been talking about our opponent's previous few matches just to give our listeners an understanding of where that club was coming into our match. Now, the previous match for Denizlispor had been a victory against Gençler Birliği. The previous match before that, a loss to Konyaspor 2-0. By the way, they'd beaten Gençler 1-0. The match before the Konya loss was a draw to Antalyaspor. Before that, a loss to Trabzonspor, 1-0. And then before that, a victory against Göztepe, 2-1. So kind of up and down, real roller coaster performances in their previous 5 weeks, or 5 matches, I guess. They probably played a couple matches a week at some point in there. But so, all in all, not ideal for them. Better than what they had been doing previously in the season. You know, a couple wins in there I mentioned, some draws. Ultimately, if they had been doing that all season, they would not be where they are in the table as far as relegation goes. Coming into our match, they had just 21 points and sat in the bottom of the relegation zone, 3 spots from the bottom to be precise, ahead of Gençler and Ankaragücü, the two Ankara sides. Erzurumspor was ahead of them, but they'd be playing Galatasaray. So, both sides with a lot of work to do to get any points from these two big Istanbul sides. And of course, all of that is somewhat irrelevant. All we really care about is Denizlispor, because that's who we're playing, us being Beşiktaş. So, let's talk about lineups now. As, of course, you folks will recall, Beşiktaş was coming off of a rather impressive victory themselves, having defeated Gençler 3-0 on the road the previous match, February 15th. But they had a week off. Perhaps some rust. It's always possible in matches like this. Denizlispor can be a trap game, I think. They've got a bunch of talent vis-a-vis guys like Rodallega at all. Sagal. But also they have a lot to play for. They don't want to get relegated. So certainly they were going to give this game their all. Like I said, they had to get points to pass Erzurumspor, knowing Erzurumspor would very likely not get anything against Galatasaray. So a lot to play for. And yeah, exciting times all around. For Beşiktaş going into this match, Ersin would be in the goal as per usual. Wellington and Vida on the back line. Both of them restored to the lineup from suspensions and injuries and whatnot. Montero still injured, but the good news here is that he's returned to training. We've seen some images on the club's social media. And Sakala would play on the left side of the defense, still no Ridvan. Valentin Rosier on the right side, standout performer all season long, obviously. In the midfield, we'd have Joseph de Souza backing the midfield with Atiba and Ljajic in again, sort of ahead of him. Nkudu on the left side, Kyle Larin on the right. So Nkudu getting a start. Ghazal again not getting a start. Injured though, we may recall. Although on the mend supposedly. And up front, we would see Vincent Aboubakar. And the reason I say that Rachid Ghazal is on the mend is he was on the bench available, although I think we probably anticipated he would probably want, or Sergen, that is to say, Sergen would probably want to rest him. And that would be the case. I'll give a spoiler there. There would be no Rachid Ghazal. But so yeah, any surprises vis-a-vis Denizlispor's lineup? Perhaps seeing Cenk Gönen. A lot of Beşiktaş fans will recall him. Mustafa Yumlu is another guy who's been around the league a bunch. Though Cenk being obviously a former Beşiktaş keeper, we will all remember him. Rodallega, Sagal, Angelo Sagal. Sagal is Chilean. He was a very talented player, certainly. Very blonde hair as well. Mix Diskerud, a gringo, an American player, 30-year-old, who's been around the block, also featuring on this Denizlispor side, starting. So, yeah, lots of interesting talent all around in this match. But, yeah, still, you'd expect Beşiktaş to be favorites. We've been very potent up front, scoring tons of goals this season. So, you know, Beşiktaş would hope to get some results here. Let's talk about the match. The first real action would come in the 12th minute, about 20 seconds into the 12th minute. And it would be a long shot from our friend Nkudu. He took a shot from distance, which was saved fairly easily, although it had a lot of force on it. It was a good shot. Of note in the build-up was Atiba, who was very active, dribbling around, finding I think Aboubakar, who was defended and just sort of came back, bounced around, got around to Nkudu, who would get the first real effort on goal for Beşiktaş. Still, though, Beşiktaş came out real out of sorts, we could say. Not really putting things together very well, looking disheveled, but still, of course, always a menace nonetheless. But the first real scare would come in the 18th minute, late in the 18th, almost 19th minute, and that Angelo Sagal of Chile would fight Wellington off the ball well. Wellington would go down weakly. Sagal would then put in a pinpoint cross to the foot of Rodallega, who would volley it wide. And Beşiktaş was quite lucky there. Could have been a goal. Couldn't really even say it was against the run of play yet. Like I said, Beşiktaş came out on a real flat foot. But this would wake the team up, and they would immediately start putting pressure on Denizli. And sure enough, in the 21st minute, about halfway through the 21st minute, Valentin Rosier, with a nice run up the side of the field, defended, but the ball, not defended, he would send a nice cross in, well, perhaps not that nice, but the ball was defended, but it would bounce, sort of, perhaps very fortunately, right to the feet of Kyle Larin, and he would one-touch it. He'd take the ball off of the defender who stopped Rosier's cross in one sort of motion, and then the second touch, perhaps, but it was sort of a volley, sent it right into the goal, high into the top of the netting, really well placed, smashed it in, and bam, there we go, the family man getting Beşiktaş off to the winning ways again, scoring a huge goal. Can't say enough about that. Beşiktaş needed it real bad. I can't stress enough how poorly they came out of the gates in this one. And sure enough, in the 28th minute, again, Valentin Rosier, tricky bit of counter-attacking defense, dribbling around two defenders. As a defender, dribbling around two attackers who were defending. And then sliding in Nkudu, who would send it in perfectly, honestly, across the goal. A number of guys having an opportunity to put it away, but it would be Kyle Larin who would get to it, get it across the goal line, but it would be flagged off for a handball, which, unfortunate, very unlucky, but I don't think anyone could really say it was, we were aggrieved in that sense. It was the correct call. But yeah, so close to going up 2-0, but it would not be. 37th minute, a corner by Ljajic was defended into Nsakala, who would take a couple steps with the ball, send in a shot from distance low, not accurate by any stretch, defended, but it would kind of carry him around. And in the sort of scrum of it, a really well sort of played ball by who other than Vincent Aboubakar. And yeah, just like a real heads up, watching where the ball was going and being the first to respond. And he smashes it in low across the keeper and into the back of the net. Beşiktaş has a 2-0 lead. No funny business in the VAR or anything. And things are looking great at this point now. 2-0 up on what was looking like a bad day to begin with. Now it's coming around. Beşiktaş is starting to find their form. And yeah, then again, not much later, it would be the 38th minute. Just a minute later, in fact. Again, a counter on their, I suppose, probably starting play up after Aboubakar's goal. But this time it would be Atiba with some nice movement on getting the ball, distributing it to Larin, who would find Aboubakar well on the kind of advancing left, from the left side, not really along the wing, but towards the wing perhaps. He would then slot the ball in really well for Adem Ljajic, who was coming forward well, kind of behind the defense. And Adem Ljajic would have space to basically just put the ball on goal. The shot was saved, but not well enough by Cenk. Credit to Adem Ljajic for his placement on this one. There wasn't a lot Cenk could do. And yeah, a goal again, 3-0, and the family man, Aboubakar and Adem Ljajic, have now all scored goals. Pretty much ideal for any Beşiktaş fan here. And we have a 3-0 lead. 46th minute, a scare. Mixed Diskerud would find Angelo Sagal, who would hit the crossbar strongly, firmly. A really strong effort on goal that we were perhaps lucky not to give anything away on. in the 47th minute, a really impressive save by Ersin Destanoğlu. And it was impressive enough that the American keeper from BN USA, the American commentator from BN USA was very complimentary of especially that save, and from then on seemed to be very focused on Ersin's exploits and very complimentary. So that save shifted his opinion of the keeper in a very positive way, and it was really the kind of save that had we not already had a 3-goal lead, would have saved the match. And even with the lead like that, it really sort of staves off their momentum quite effectively. So it was going right into the half. I think a 3-0 lead is a huge advantage. A 3-1 lead at that point, they have something to work with. They need one more goal and they're right back in it. Instead, it's 3-0 thanks to Ersin and his heroics. And that would be it for the half. I did forget to mention that there was an early substitution. Mustafa Yumlu, who I mentioned, was substituted out from an injury in the 38th minute. So, thoughts and prayers or what have you. At the halftime, they would make a sub. By the way, Uzdemir in for Lopes. I'm not going to focus on that too much. 54th minute, Sagal would get himself a yellow card. So, a very good game from him all around. But, yeah, that was his first real sort of stat, if you will. 65th minute, we'd finally see some subs for Beşiktaş. And, credit to Sergen. That's a pretty decent time to bring in your first round of subs, I think. Gökhan Töre would come in for Georges Kevin Nkudu. Necip Uysal would enter the match for Adem Ljajic. So credit for the timing, not so much for the subs themselves. I didn't think we needed to go defensive here. Töre for Nkudu, fine. Nkudu and Abubakar are both injury-prone guys, and so if you have a 3-goal lead, again, into the 65th minute, I think you can start considering that sub, and it's a smart one. So Nkudu for Töre, fine. Töre needs to get some form up as well, so giving him a little time is also smart. Necip for Adem Ljajic, I didn't really get. I think between Joseph and Atiba is rapidly aging. Gosh, that sounds mean, but he's up there. So I think you could rest him and bring in Necip if you want to make that move. I didn't think we needed to go defensive here. I thought we could run up the score a bit. A 3-goal lead is nice, but 4 goals would have brought us even with Galatasaray going into their match, which I'll tell you how that went after this match description here. But would have brought us even with them on goal differential, which would have been fairly important. Psychologically anyhow, but anyway, Sergen goes defensive there. A couple subs for our opponent in that 68th minute. Sako coming in for Mesanovic, Ayarolu coming in for Mix Diskerud, the Norwegian American. 74th minute. No, sorry, I missed a highlight. In the 65th minute would be our first real action of the half, and it would be Valentin Rosier bringing it up the side of the pitch well. A nice 1-2 with Nkudu, and Nkudu would get a shot with real force behind it on goal, although not quite on goal. It would soar a bit high and not trouble the keeper. Excuse me. So then he would be subbed out. 68th minute there, sub. 74th minute, Ozan Ozyakup would come into the match for Domagoj Vida. So that's a weird sub, and it changes the Necip sub a little bit. So Necip got about 9 minutes as a defensive midfielder or central midfielder or something before sliding back into central defense, I assume, because Domagoj Vida came out with Ozan coming in. And so then we go back to having Joseph, Atiba, and Ozan. And so Ozan for Ljajic, I could have understood perhaps, right? So I guess he sort of atones for his little error there. 9 minutes of mistaken play without much attack. So perhaps he saw the error of his ways there too. We could have really used that goal. 83rd minute, Dosevi comes in for Sagal, who'd been a pain in our butts. Right before that sub, Segal would actually have a shot. Another cross actually to Rodallega, pinpoint cross. Rodallega would chest it down well, but then sort of latch onto the shot on a volley, send it right over the bar. So just not quite enough for them. And then Segal would come out of the match in the 83rd for Dosevi. Dorukhan Tokus would enter the match for Atiba in the 83rd minute as well. And then in the 84th minute, Aydin Hasic would enter the match for Vincent Abubakar. So Hasic sighting, whoop whoop. Big moment for our guy, the Akman, Evran over there. I'm sure he enjoyed that more than a minute or two even. In fact, he'd get 10 minutes, including extra time. But so in the 84th minute, there would be a corner. Ozan taking those duties, sends it in. It's defended, but drops to Necip, who doesn't really do anything with it. Whatever. I don't think you can give him too much slack over it, but he probably could have done more. Probably could have created a goal here if he sends it low. I think maybe he tries to go for a shot errantly and instead creates another corner. Nothing happened there. In the 87th minute, Valentin Rosier does really well to find Aydin Hasic, who has space and even a bit of time, and doesn't quite do very well with the finish. Sends it right at the keeper. Keeper does fairly well, perhaps, and by keeper I mean Cenk Gonen, for anyone who's forgotten by now. But yeah, I mean, not ideal. I think Hasic could easily have had a goal there. Still, though, he's been very active to this point. Some crisp passing, really nice back heel, for example, that almost came off and set up a goal. Except it's almost like we didn't. I forget who it was that ran onto it, but they almost didn't anticipate it. It was more than we typically see from anyone on our side. So some flashes of brilliance from Hasic, despite that. Should have been goal, perhaps. 89th minute, Larin scores, but it's offside. So almost a brace, or even a hat trick, considering he had an offside goal called off as well. 89th minute, that was the 89th minute. Sorry, 92nd minute, so extra time again. There were 4 minutes of extra time. This time, Larin would find Hasic, and Hasic, a better effort, perhaps, more power, bit of an angle on it, but Cenk would do fairly well to save this one. It would come to, again, a nice distribution from Larin here, finding Hasic in a little space, and yeah, not a bad effort at all, despite a tough angle perhaps. Wide left, I believe it was, but the shot is saved, doesn't matter. The whistle blows in the 94th minute. Beşiktaş wins 3-0. Could have asked for more goals. Not gonna lie, but whatever. I'm not gonna complain too much. Huge day. I will mention that Evran is here for stats. So without further ado, let's let the man speak.
All right. Excuse my background sound as I'm in an Airbnb, but coming at you guys with a stat flash. So for the Beşiktaş Denizli game, Beşiktaş had a pretty strong performance. 61% possession. Denizli's 39. And the XG, according to Rosie Sports, was 1.6 to 0.5 in favor of Beşiktaş. So maybe 3-0 is a little bit generous, but certainly a deserved win. Beşiktaş had met the ball 23 times in Denizli's box compared to 17 for them. Beşiktaş took 14 shots to Denizli's 6. They really just had that one big chance that Ersin saved. Our pass accuracy in their half was 88%, which is quite high. Their pass accuracy in our half was just 71%, so a 17% difference. Looking at some of the standout performers, I'll start with Abubakar. Obviously had the goal and assist, 3 chances created. Outside of that, it wasn't that great. 1 out of 6 duels won. only touched the ball 30 times, which is quite low compared to other attackers. But he came up when he needed it, got the goal and assist in that 2-minute little spurt. Mr. Laren got his 1 goal, obviously. But outside of that, he won 7 out of 14 duels, had 56 touches, which was quite active in the build-up compared to Abubakar, but just the 1 chance created, so a little bit less clinical in the final third, but got that first goal, which was very important for the guys. That helped. Denizli had to leave their box after that. Lajic, not his best game, a little quiet, but still solid numbers. 2 out of 3 duels won, 94% pass accuracy. Only 1 chance created. His crossing was okay. 2 out of 7 crosses completed. 2 more guys I'll point out who were maligned all season, maybe rightfully so, sometimes by us on the podcast, but Nsakala and Wellington had good games against Denizli. Nsakala won 11 out of 12 duels, including 5 tackles, which is very good numbers. And then Wellington won 10 out of 12 duels, including 4 tackles and 4 out of 5 aerial duels won. So clearly they're they're dominant at this relegation side. Squad fights against teams like Denizli, against Lerbley and stuff. So hopefully Ridvan and Montero will come back. But in the meantime we're doing okay. But I'll send it back to the main man, Sinan. So, see ya.
Thank you very much, Evron. Very helpful with the stat flash, sir. Good to have you back on. Sure, our listeners missed his voice, so good to hear you. Again, hoping for the best for you over there. We're all pulling for you, listeners, hosts, all of us. Go fulfill your dreams, sir. Go get yourself a professional contract. But so yeah, giant win for us, obviously, as far as just needing 3 points. One thing I should probably mention, actually, is that in the week off, where we had the bye week, our rivals obviously played. And there was some good news there, actually. Galatasaray did not provide any good news. They beat Alanyaspor 0-1 on the road, and that's bad news because Alanya is a pretty decent side who could have helped us here. But Fener would play Göztepe and lose at home 0-1. Shocker, for sure. Halil Akbunar in the 9th minute, scoring the only goal of that match. So yeah, you could not really ask for more there. But so yeah, that meant that the 3 points here were huge because we got level with Galatasaray, who had taken a little lead there, and a 3-point lead over Fener now, which is very nice. And so obviously they'd have a chance to change that this same match day, but. Since we played first on this match day, we got to see the sort of table out, if you will. And we're still now, we have a game in hand, obviously. But I'll tell you what's happened thus far. So Galatasaray has played Erzurumspor. And you could say it's sort of a worst case scenario as far as that match goes. Insofar as Galatasaray was not only victorious, but their new striker, their Egyptian striker, Mustafa Mohamed, scored a brace, scoring both of their goals in their 2-0 victory over Erzurumspor. So they're getting hot vis-a-vis him, just when we need them to stop playing well and drop some points. But we're still level with them, theoretically. They're up 3 points, but we have a game in hand. Fener has yet to play. I'm going to get this episode out before they do play. They're playing a huge match on the road in Trabzon, so they could stand to lose even more points, which would be terrible for them. But the nice thing about this match is that Trabzonspor is in 4th place. And so I can tell you the standings now. In first place is Galatasaray. Having played 26 matches, they have 57 points. Beşiktaş, now us, we've played 25 matches and have 54 points. Fener has 25 matches played. They'll play again tomorrow for that 26th. They have 51 points, so they could go level with us. They still have a ways to go as far as goal differential. However, they are a plus 20. We are a plus 30. So, sucks to be them, to be honest. Trabzon has played 24 matches and has 48 points. So, if Trabzon beats Fener tomorrow, or I should say later today, because it's very late here, I stayed up. Knicks played again. Big win. So, I don't know if that portends when we're not playing, if it helps us with our rivals, hopefully. The curse, the prophecy, if you will. It's not a curse if we're all winning. Yeah, the Knicks are doing great, as well as Beşiktaş. What a year to be alive, which it's so funny. Usually the Knicks don't provide me any joy. But yeah, Beşiktaş, on the other hand, let's focus here, right? We stand to benefit no matter what happens tomorrow, because Trabzon is starting to nip on our heels again, getting back into the playoff picture. Not playoff, into the championship picture, I suppose. But so yeah, Trabzon has 48 points, and so they would go level with Fener if they were to win against Fener on 51, and they would keep Fener now 3 points behind us, with us having a game in hand, so we could go 6 points ahead of Fenerbahce, which would be just absolutely leveling. We could then theoretically be 6 points ahead of Fenerbahce and Trabzon, level with Galatasaray. And again, that's assuming we get the 3 points with that game in hand, which is, you can't assume anything in the Super League. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely vital 3 points for Beşiktaş against Denizlispor. I did not mention my man of the match. And actually, what's interesting is neither did Evran after doing his whole little stat flash there. So I did get back to him, and I got confirmation. His man of the match, maybe Abubakar, although he mentioned that Unsakala had a really good game, and so he also thought about giving it to Unsakala. I'm glad he didn't give it to the man who I was going to give it to, so we can be unique in our own special ways. I'm going with Kyle Larin. Not only a goal scorer, but very active. 2 goals called off. Just also active passing the ball, setting guys up, almost getting Hasic a goal late. Just generally playing very positive, productive, exciting football. He was also a part of the counterattack that led to the Adem Ljajic goal. I mean, Abubakar obviously had a goal and an assist, so I understand everyone giving it to him him slash Unsakala, because Unsakala was also really solid, as was Wellington. I agreed with that statistically anyway. I loved Aydin Hasic's little cameo there at the end. He showed a lot in a very small window. I love to see it. He also didn't quite get the job done, but at the same time, he just shows how much potential he has, how much danger he can make. Good trouble, if you will. But so yeah, just absolutely huge. You can't ask for a lot more than that. And I mean, maybe more goals. You could question some subs if you really want to nitpick. But look, 3 points, a 3-0 win. You can't really be bummed about that. Looking ahead, like I said, we've got some midweek action. Yeni Malatya, we're playing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 11 a.m. here on the East Coast. So check your local listings as per usual. But yeah, again, huge match. We're on the road in Malatya. At least the weather's turning, so there's nothing too crazy that comes along with any of these trips anymore. So perhaps we're fortunate in that sense. But yeah, these are all big matches now. So yeah, Yeni Malatya on Tuesday, March 2nd. On Saturday, March 6th, we're at home against Gaziantep. So that's going to be another huge match. But we'll be back before that match, so I won't go too far ahead ourselves. Yeni Malatya is a side that has caused trouble for a lot of others. They're in 13th currently. 31 points, level with Konya on points. Konya's in 12th theoretically because of goal differential. Sivas in 11th and Göztepe in 10th, both of them on 32 points. So a real scrum there. Right behind them is Kasim Pasha with 29 points. Tuesday was 28th and 15th. So they're sort of dead mid-table, but they could try to advance up the table, I suppose. I don't see why not. They're still playing for. I mean, obviously we're playing for more. If you're being realistic, but you know, it's Turkey, man. It's the Super League. You never know what's gonna happen. I will hopefully have a surprise, very special guest host with me on my next episode next Wednesday, post our Tuesday match. So keep your heads up for that, ears to the ground, so to speak. I do have some big news. Not only, so there's a lot coming from the Black Eagles podcast, upcoming, if you will. So as I said, on Wednesday we're going to have our post Tuesday match episode, our official 157th episode. But early in the week, on Monday, on Tuesday. All right, here's what we're going to do. On Tuesday, and I have to confirm this with Kartal, I'm going to record the official raffle drawing. Now, we've gotten a couple more donations in from you folks. Remember, what I'm talking about is donating money for the Beşiktaş JK of Berlin. No, Beşiktaş JK Berlin Academy of Accra, I think. And we're helping raise funds to buy shirts from the Kartal Yuvasa, so hashtag Birak Mamsana. We're giving Birak Mamsani. We're giving our money to Beşiktaş in exchange for shirts, which we're then sending to these kids in Ghana, in Accra. Our friend Mohamed Aminu is running this academy. He hopes to fully align it with Beşiktaş and produce talent that he can send to the club. He's already had some success sending talent to Europe, so we could stand to benefit. Why not? We need some young African talent. We have a ton of really good African talent on the team now, obviously, vis-a-vis Vincent Abubakar, Nsakala, Bernard Mensah. Nsakala plays for the Congolese national side, of note. But so yeah, you know, it'd be great to have some young young players from Ghana join the ranks someday as well. So anyway, donate now, and this is your very last chance to earn a raffle ticket for the Atiba Hutchinson match-worn kit that we've shown in the previous Instagram TV. It'll be in the next one too, but it'll be too late for you to bid by then. And so here's the deal. The deadline is going to be the final whistle of our upcoming match against Yeni Malatya, and I hope to record the official drawing of the raffle as soon as the match ends with Kartal. I'll do it alone if Kartal is not available, but hopefully he'll be there. I'm sure he'd be excited to be a part of it. I know he's been really helpful in procuring these match-worn kits and everything. So shouts to Kartal, who's really helped me do this. It's been so awesome to succeed here. We've got kits on these kids already, on the under 15s, I believe. So to kit out another batch of these kids would be fantastic. We're close now, thanks to these donations. You guys know who you are, those of you who have donated. Remember, $5 each for a raffle ticket. So I don't want to say anyone's names in case you guys want to be anonymous, but I will mention a name, obviously, live on Instagram TV, post-match on Tuesday, announcing the winner. So get in your final raffle tickets. Buy your tickets, $5 each. The GoFundMe link is under our podcast description. I'll include it under the Twitter thing as well. As usual, this is, again, last chance, folks. So come one, come all. But aside from that, as always, thanks for tuning in. We will be back on Wednesday with the podcast itself. I'll include audio from the drawing for folks who don't have Instagram so that you know who the winner is in case it's not an Instagram user and just a regular listener. Either way, it'll be a listener, so I'm excited that one of you is going to win a really cool kit that I'll say again, I really wish I was in the drawing. I'm donating more than any of you. And still, I can't win this sucker. So you guys better love this thing, whoever wins it. But yeah, I will add that I'm going to donate the rest. So whatever is needed to, in addition, for whatever you guys donate to get to the next bar for buying kits, I'm going to donate myself. So I'm coming through on my end as well as far as getting these kids these kits. I've donated a bunch already, but heck, man, it's a good cause. Why not? But so yeah, we will be back soon. As always, follow us on Twitter, especially now because you're going to want to hear who wins this thing, and Instagram. On Twitter, we are at Eagles_podcast. On Instagram, Black Eagles Podcast. One word. Follow myself on Twitter at Sir_writes_a lot. We will be back soon, folks, but I do have to say one more thing before we go, and that is let's go Beşiktaş! Shouts out to everyone for the staff list. Shouts to Cartel for the GoFundMe stuff. Shouts to all of you lovely listeners for tuning in every episode. See y'all soon. Go Beşiktaş.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.